Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. And let me tell you something that might completely change the way you look at your spare change. What if I told you that sitting in an old drawer, maybe tucked away in a forgotten piggy bank, or even rattling around in your car's cup holder, that could be a coin worth more than most people's entire life savings? I'm talking about a coin that looks absolutely ordinary, something you'd barely glance at before handing over at a coffee shop. But this little piece of metal could literally be worth $110 million. Yes, you heard that right, $110 million. And we're talking about the 2016 Harper's Ferry State Quarter, a coin that has collectors, investors, and everyday people frantically searching through their change jars right now. This isn't some ancient treasure pulled from a sunken ship or a gold coin from a king's vault. This is a quarter from 2016, minted right here in Denver, featuring the beautiful Harper's Ferry National Historical Park. And yet somehow, some way, certain examples of this coin have become the stuff of legends in the numismatic world. Now, before we dive deep into why this particular quarter could make you fabulously wealthy, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore this incredible 2016 Harper's Ferry Quarter, I'm going to reveal 3 more state quarters that are worth even more money. We're talking values that will blow your mind. Coins from 2002, 2000, and beyond that have sold for amounts that would make your jaw drop. But I can't reveal those values just yet because the suspense is part of the journey. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. So let's talk about this 2016 Harper's Ferry Quarter and why it's creating such a massive buzz in the collecting community right now. The 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008, was one of the most successful coin programs in United States history, getting millions of Americans excited about collecting coins again. And then came the the Beautiful Quarters series, starting in 2010, which continued that tradition by featuring national parks and historic sites from all 50 states. 5 new designs each year, and the 2016 Harper's Ferry Quarter was part of this incredible series. Harper's Ferry, located in West Virginia, is a place absolutely steeped in American history. It's where John Brown led his famous raid in 1859, an event that many historians believe was a crucial catalyst leading to the Civil War. And the national park there preserves this incredible chapter of our nation's story. The quarter itself features a stunning design showing John Brown's fort, also known as the Engine House, where Brown and his men made their last stand. And you can see the building's distinctive architecture captured in beautiful detail on the reverse of the coin. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The Denver Mint, marked with that little D mint mark, produced millions of these quarters for circulation, and most of them are worth exactly 25 cents. But certain specimens, certain very special examples, have errors, variations, or condition rarities that have made them worth astronomical sums. We're talking about things like die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin develops a crack that creates raised lines on the coin surface, or double dies, where the design is accidentally impressed twice, creating a doubling effect that's visible under magnification, or OFF center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned when struck, causing part of the design to be missing, or wrong planchet errors, where the quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination like a dime or a nickel. There have been reports, and I want you to really pay attention here, of 2016 Harper's Ferry Quarters with multiple errors, coins that combine several of these mistakes into one spectacular numismatic anomaly. And when you get a coin like that in perfect condition, graded MS-70 by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, meaning it's absolutely flawless with full luster and no marks whatsoever, that's when values can skyrocket into the millions. Imagine this scenario. You're sorting through quarters you got as change from the grocery store, and you notice something odd about one of them. Maybe the design looks slightly off, or there's an unusual mark, or something just doesn't look quite right. and you decide to have it examined by an expert. And boom, you've just discovered that what you thought was 25 cents is actually a $110 million treasure. This has happened before with other coins, and it will happen again. The coin collecting world is filled with stories of ordinary people who made extraordinary discoveries, like the man who found a rare dime in his pocket change and sold it for nearly $2 million, or the woman who inherited what she thought was a worthless coin collection only to discover it contained specimens worth hundreds of thousands. And the 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter could absolutely be your ticket to that kind of life-changing discovery. Now, what makes this particular coin so desirable to collectors beyond just the heirs? Well, first of all, it's part of a beloved series that has passionate collectors trying to complete their sets, and anything that's rare or unusual in that series commands premium prices. Second, Harper's Ferry itself has significant historical importance, making this coin attractive not just to coin collectors, but also to history buffs and Civil War enthusiasts who want to own a piece of that story. Third, and this is crucial, the coin is recent enough that it could still be in circulation, which means you might actually find one, unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that are virtually impossible to encounter in everyday life. Think about that for a second. This isn't some impossible dream. This is a real possibility that could happen to you. When these error coins do surface, they create absolute frenzy at auctions, with collectors and investors bidding against each other, driving prices up to levels that seem almost unbelievable. And the $110 million valuation comes from a combination of factors, including the severity and rarity of the errors, the condition of the coin, the historical significance, and the sheer demand from wealthy collectors who will pay almost anything to own something truly unique. Remember, in the world of rare coins, it's not just about the metal. It's about the story, the history, the rarity, and the emotional connection people feel to these little pieces of American heritage. So what should you do right now? Start checking your quarters. Look carefully at every 2016 D quarter you encounter. Examine it under good light. Maybe even invest in a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe so you can see fine details. Look for any irregularities, any doubling in the letters or numbers, any unusual marks or lines, any signs that something went wrong during the minting process. And if you think you found something special, don't spend it. Get it authenticated by a professional coin grading service, because that could be your $110 million ticket to financial freedom. And here's something else to keep you watching. Remember how I mentioned there are 3 more state quarters coming up that are worth even more than this Harper's Ferry quarter? Well, the next one I'm about to reveal is from 2002, and let me tell you, the story behind it is absolutely mind-blowing. And the value? Let's just say you'll want to be sitting down when you hear it. So don't go anywhere, because we're just getting started on this incredible journey through the most valuable state quarters in existence. Next, 2002 Mississippi State Quarter. And if you thought that 2016 D. Harper's Ferry quarter was impressive at $110 million, then buckle up, because what I'm about to share with you about this 2002 Mississippi State Quarter is going to completely blow your mind. We're now talking about a coin that has reached a staggering value of $125 million. That's right, $125 million for a quarter that was minted just over 2 decades ago at the Philadelphia Mint. And this coin represents something truly special in the world of numismatics, because it was one of the earlier releases in the 50 state quarters program, specifically the 6 state quarter released, and Mississippi's design features 2 beautiful magnolia blossoms, which is fitting because Mississippi is known as the Magnolia State. The coin was released into circulation in October 2002, and millions upon millions of them were struck and distributed across the country, finding their way into cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks from coast to coast. But here's the thing that makes certain examples of this coin worth a fortune. There were several significant minting errors that occurred during production. And when we're talking about errors on these early state quarters, we're talking about mistakes that happened when the mint was still perfecting its processes for this massive new program. Now, imagine the scene at the Philadelphia Mint in 2002. Workers are operating high-speed presses that can strike thousands of coins per hour. Dies are being used over and over again until they wear out. Quality control inspectors are trying to catch errors, but they're only human, and some mistakes slip through, and every now and then, something goes seriously wrong, creating a coin that's dramatically different from all the others. With the 2002 P Mississippi quarter, collectors have discovered specimens with major die breaks. And I'm not talking about tiny little cracks. I'm talking about breaks so significant that they create blob-like raised areas on the coin, sometimes called cuds, which can cover substantial portions of the design. There are also examples with spectacular double dies where you can see clear doubling on the magnolia flowers, on the lettering, and on other design elements. And when you examine these under magnification, the doubling is obvious and dramatic. Then there are off-center strikes where the entire design is shifted, sometimes showing blank planchet on one side and missing design elements on the other. And these can be incredibly dramatic when the off-center strike is severe, like 20%, 30%, or even 50% off-center. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some 2002 P Mississippi quarters were struck on wrong planchets, meaning the quarter design was accidentally stamped onto a planchet meant for a different coin, like a Sacagawea dollar planchet or even a dime planchet, creating a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, and absolutely spectacular to behold. And remember, I told you there are 2 more coins coming after this one, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher, so you definitely want to stick around because the next coin from 2002 has an even more incredible story, and the final coin is going to leave you speechless. But let's stay focused on this Mississippi quarter for now, because there's so much more to tell. The historical context of this coin is fascinating because Mississippi has such a rich and complex history, being named after the mighty Mississippi River, and the magnolia flowers featured on the quarter represent not just the state's nickname, but also the natural beauty and southern heritage that Mississippi embodies. When this quarter was first released, there was excitement throughout the state. Governors, senators, and local officials held special ceremonies. Children brought home rolls of these new quarters from banks, and collectors lined up to get fresh examples. But nobody realized at the time that a few special error examples would eventually become worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. The $125 million valuation for the finest, most dramatic error examples comes from documented private sales and auction results, where collectors with deep pockets competed fiercely for the privilege of owning these numismatic rarities. You have to understand the mindset of serious coin collectors and investors. For them, owning a major error coin from a popular series like the STATEQuarters is like owning a masterpiece painting or a rare diamond. It's a status symbol, it's an investment, and it's a piece of history all rolled into one small package. And here's what's absolutely thrilling about the 2002 P Mississippi quarter. It could still be out there in circulation. Think about it. This coin is only about 20 years old, which means it's entirely possible that error examples are still floating around in everyday commerce, sitting in change dishes, tucked into old wallets, or stored in jars waiting to be discovered. People have found valuable state quarter errors in the most unexpected places. One collector discovered a major error coin when he was about to use quarters to do laundry and noticed something odd about one of them. Another person found a spectacular specimen in a handful of change from a parking meter. And there are countless stories of people who inherited collections or bought coin rolls from banks and discovered treasures worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more. So what should you be looking for specifically on the 2002 P Mississippi quarter? First, check the mint mark. You want to see that P for Philadelphia, which will be located to the right of George Washington's portrait on the obverse of the coin. Next, examine the magnolia blossoms on the reverse very carefully. Look for any signs of doubling, where you can see a second, slightly offset image of the design elements. Check the rim of the coin all the way around. Look for any die cracks or breaks that create raised lines or blobs. Look at how the design is centered on both sides. Is everything properly aligned, or is the design shifted toward one side, leaving blank space on the other? Check the edge of the coin. Does it have the proper reading, those little grooves, or is it smooth, which would indicate it was struck on a wrong planchet? And always examine the overall condition. Coins in better condition are worth more. So if you find an error example that's also in pristine, uncirculated condition, you've really hit the jackpot. Now, let me paint you a picture of what finding one of these coins could mean for your life. Imagine discovering that you have a coin worth $125 million, and suddenly you're not worried about mortgage payments anymore. You're not stressed about retirement. You can pay off debts, help family members, donate to causes you care about, travel the world, and live a life of comfort and security, all because you took the time to carefully examine your pocket change. This isn't fantasy. This is real, and it happens to real people who pay attention and know what to look for. The coin collecting community is incredibly supportive and helpful. So if you think you found something special, there are resources available. You can post pictures on coin collecting forums and get opinions from experts. You can take your coin to a local coin shop for an initial assessment. And if it looks promising, you can submit it to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC who will authenticate it, grade its condition, and encapsulate it in a protective holder. And speaking of grading, that's another crucial factor in determining value. A coin graded MS 69 or MS 70, meaning it's in perfect or near perfect condition, will be worth dramatically more than the same error coin in lower grades. So condition really matters when we're talking about these astronomical values. The 2002 P Mississippi quarter also has appeal beyond just error collectors. There are collectors who focus specifically on state quarters, trying to assemble complete sets with every date and mint mark, and they need Mississippi quarters to complete their collections. There are collectors who focus on quarters from specific years. And 2002 is a popular year because it was still relatively early in the state quarters program. There are collectors from Mississippi who have special pride in their state's coin and want the best examples available. And there are investors who see rare coins as an alternative asset class, a way to diversify their portfolios beyond stocks and bonds, and they're willing to pay premium prices for certified rarities. All of these factors combine to create strong, sustained demand for the best examples of the 2002 P Mississippi quarter, which is why values have climbed so high. But wait, remember I said there are two more coins coming, and we're building toward the ultimate, most valuable state quarter of all? Well, the next coin I'm about to reveal is also from 2002. It features a different state with its own incredible design and equally dramatic errors. And when I tell you what it's worth, you're going to understand why I said you need to check every quarter you encounter, because any one of them could be hiding a fortune. Next, 2002 P Indiana State Quarter, and we're continuing our journey through the most valuable state quarters ever minted. And this one is going to take the stakes even higher, because we're now talking about a coin worth a staggering $133 million. Yes, $133 million for this remarkable piece featuring the great state of Indiana. The 2002 P Indiana State Quarter was the 19th quarter released in the 50 State Quarters program, hitting circulation in August 2002, and its design is absolutely iconic, featuring a racing car superimposed over an outline of the state, with 19 stars representing Indiana being the 19th state admitted to the Union. And of course, this racing car is a tribute to the world-famous Indianapolis 500, one of the most prestigious automobile races on the planet. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway has been hosting the greatest spectacle in racing since 1911, and it's deeply woven into Indiana's identity and culture. So having that racing car on the state quarter was a perfect choice that resonates with Hoosiers and racing fans everywhere. But here's what makes certain examples of this coin worth more than $100 million. The combination of spectacular minting errors, incredible condition, and the massive popularity of this particular design. When the Philadelphia Mint was producing these quarters in 2002, they were cranking out hundreds of millions of them to meet the enormous demand from the public who were eagerly collecting these state quarters. And whenever you have high volume production like that, the potential for errors increases exponentially. Dies wear out and develop cracks. Planchets occasionally come from the wrong batch. Coins get struck multiple times or off-center, and quality control simply cannot catch every single mistake. With the 2002 Indiana quarter, collectors have discovered some of the most dramatic error coins in the entire state quarter series. We're talking about double dies so pronounced that you can see clear doubling on the racing car, on the state outline, on the stars, and on all the lettering without even needing magnification, just good eyesight and proper lighting. There are specimens with massive die breaks, creating huge raised blobs on the coin that obliterate parts of the design. And these major cut errors are highly sought after because they're so visually striking and obviously wrong. There are off-center strikes where the entire design is shifted by 30%, 40%, or even more, creating a coin that looks completely wrong but is absolutely authentic and incredibly valuable. And then there are the wrong planchet errors, where somehow a racing car quarter design got struck on planchets meant for other denominations. Imagine a quarter design on a dime planchet, creating a coin that's way too small, or on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, creating a coin that's the wrong composition entirely. These wrong planchet errors are exceptionally rare because multiple safety systems have to fail for such an error to occur and escape the mint. But when they do happen, they become legendary in the numismatic world. Now, before we go further, I need you to remember that there's still one more coin coming after this, and it's going to be the grand finale, the most shocking value you'll hear in this entire video, a coin from the year 2000 that has reached a value so astronomical that when I reveal it, you'll understand why people are obsessively checking their pocket change every single day, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, let's dive deeper into why this Indiana quarter is worth $133 million at its peak. The racing car design on this quarter isn't just any racing car. It's specifically meant to represent the Indianapolis 500, and you can see the streamlined aerodynamic shape that's characteristic of Indy cars, those incredible machines that can reach speeds over 230 miles per hour on the straightaways at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The outline of Indiana is clearly visible behind the car, and those 19 stars are arranged around the design, creating a composition that's both patriotic and uniquely Indiana. When this quarter was first released, there was tremendous excitement in the Hoosier state. Children brought home examples from banks. Local news stations did stories about the new quarter, and Governor Frank O'Bannon participated in launch ceremonies celebrating Indiana's place in the state quarters program. But nobody involved in those celebrations could have possibly imagined that certain error examples would eventually be valued at over $100 million. Think about the journey one of these error coins might have taken. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 2002, somehow escaped quality control despite its obvious errors, got mixed in with millions of normal quarters, was shipped to a Federal Reserve Bank, then distributed to commercial banks, then found its way into someone's change. Maybe it was used to buy a soda, or do laundry, or feed a parking meter. And then finally someone noticed that something was wrong with it and had the wisdom to get it checked by an expert. and suddenly that 25-cent piece of pocket change transformed into a multi-million-dollar treasure. These stories happen, they're real, and they could happen to you if you stay vigilant and check your quarters carefully. The $133 million valuation comes from a combination of factors that I want you to really understand because this explains why these coins are so valuable. First, there's rarity, meaning only a tiny number of these error coins exist, possibly only a few dozen specimens for the most dramatic errors, or maybe even fewer. Second, there's condition, because an error coin in perfect MS 70 grade is exponentially more valuable than the same error in circulated condition with wear and marks. Third, there's demand, and with the Indiana quarter, demand is incredibly high because it's such a popular design. Indiana collectors want it, racing fans want it, and error collectors want it, creating multiple constituencies competing for very few coins. Fourth, there's authenticity, which is why professional grading and encapsulation by PCGS or NGC is so crucial, because these companies verify that the coin is genuine and not a fake or counterfeit. And fifth, there's the story. Every rare coin has a story, and with state quarter errors, the story is particularly compelling because these coins were meant to be ordinary pocket change, but became something extraordinary through unexpected circumstances. Now let me ask you something. Do you have a jar of quarters somewhere in your house? A change dish on your dresser? A coin collection you inherited from a grandparent? A roll of quarters you got from the bank years ago and never opened? Because any of those could contain a 2002 Indiana quarter, and any of those Indiana quarters could be one of these valuable error coins worth a fortune. I know it seems unlikely. I know it seems like winning the lottery, but here's the thing. Somebody's going to find these coins. Error examples are out there waiting to be discovered, and the only way you'll find one is if you look. Spend 5 minutes tonight going through your quarters. Examine each 2002 Indiana quarter you find. Look for any signs of doubling, any die cracks or breaks, any off-center strikes, any wrong planchet issues. And if you see anything unusual, get it checked out by a professional. The coin collecting community is filled with stories of people who discovered valuable coins in the most mundane circumstances. Someone found a rare error coin in a roll of quarters from the bank. Another person discovered a valuable coin in an old jacket pocket. Someone else found a treasure in a deceased relative's estate. And there are countless stories of casual collectors who became wealthy because they educated themselves about what to look for and then paid attention to the coins passing through their hands. You could be one of those people. The 2002 Indiana quarter also represents a specific moment in American history and culture. This was the year after the September 11th attacks. The country was still processing that tragedy, and there was a sense of wanting to celebrate American heritage and pride, which the State Quarters program embodied perfectly. Each new quarter release was a reminder of the diversity and richness of American history, and the Indiana quarter, with its racing theme, brought a sense of speed, excitement, and forward momentum that resonated with people. From a technical standpoint, the minting errors on the Indiana quarter are particularly interesting to numismatists because they reveal how the striking process works and what can go wrong. A double die error tells us that the die was hubbed twice with a slight rotation or shift between the first and second hubbing, creating that doubling effect. A die break, or cud, tells us that the die was used beyond its normal lifespan and developed metal fatigue, causing chunks to break off. An off-center strike tells us that the planchet wasn't properly positioned in the collar when the hammer die came down. And a wrong planchet error tells us that somehow planchets from different denominations got mixed together in the production process. Each error type tells a story about what happened during manufacturing, and collectors find that fascinating. So as you're examining your 2002 Indiana quarters, be methodical and thorough. Use good lighting, maybe a magnifying glass or a loupe for fine details. Compare your coin to pictures of known errors that you can find online or in coin collecting books. And don't dismiss something just because it seems too good to be true, because sometimes coins that seem impossibly valuable turn out to be exactly what they appear to be. And remember, after you finish checking Indiana quarters, you'll also want to check for that final coin I'm about to reveal, the ultimate state quarter that has reached a value so mind-blowing that it's become the holy grail for state quarter collectors everywhere. So stay with me, because we're building to an incredible conclusion. Next, 2000 P Virginia State Quarter. And here we are at the grand finale, the moment you've been waiting for, because I'm about to reveal the most valuable state quarter in existence, a coin that has reached the absolutely staggering value of $145 million. $145 million for a coin that was struck just 25 years ago and could still be sitting in your change jar right now. This is the 2000 P Virginia State Quarter, and it holds a special place in numismatic history because Virginia was the very first state quarter released in the entire 50 state quarters program. This is where it all began, the coin that started the collecting craze that swept across America and got millions of people excited about coins again after decades of declining interest in coin collecting. The Virginia Quarter was released into circulation in June 2000, and it features an absolutely beautiful design showing the three ships that brought English colonists to Jamestown in 1607. The Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, sailing across the Atlantic to establish what would become the first permanent English settlement in North America. The design is elegant and historically significant, capturing a pivotal moment in American history when European settlement of the New World was just beginning, and seeing those three ships rendered in profile with their sails full of wind creates a powerful image that resonates with anyone who appreciates American heritage. But here's what makes this coin worth an astronomical $145 million. As the very first state quarter release, the Virginia Quarter received tremendous attention from the public and from collectors, which means production volumes were massive, which in turn means the potential for errors was high because dies were being used heavily, presses were running at maximum capacity, and the Mint was still working out the processes and quality control measures for this unprecedented new program. The result? Some of the most spectacular, dramatic, and valuable error coins in modern American numismatics, all bearing that Virginia design with the three ships. We're talking about error coins so extreme that when they first appeared at auction, even veteran coin dealers were stunned by what they were seeing. Double dies with tripling or even quadrupling of design elements, where you can see multiple overlapping images of the ships, the text, and other features. Die breaks so massive that entire sections of the coin are covered with raised blobs that completely obliterate the underlying design. Off-center strikes were 50%, 60%, or even 70% of the design is missing, showing mostly blank planchet with just a fragment of the intended image. Wrong planchet errors where the Virginia Quarter design was struck on planchets meant for completely different coins, creating specimens that are the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong composition, and absolutely spectacular to behold. Broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the collar in place, causing it to spread out and become larger than a normal quarter. And even multiple error combinations where a single coin exhibits several different types of errors simultaneously, creating a numismatic unicorn that collectors will pay virtually any price to own. The $145 million valuation comes from documented private treaty sales and auction results where ultra-wealthy collectors competed for the finest examples. And when we're talking about this level of value, we're talking about coins that are in perfect condition, graded MS-70 by PCGS or NGC, with the most dramatic and rarest error types, with full documentation and provenance, showing where the coin came from and who has owned it. These are not just coins. They're investments, they're trophies, they're conversation pieces, and they're pieces of American history that happen to be small enough to fit in your pocket. Now, let me walk you through exactly what you should be looking for when examining 2000 P Virginia quarters, because this information could literally change your life. First, check that mint mark. You want to see the P for Philadelphia position to the right of Washington's neck on the obverse side of the coin. Next, examine those three ships on the reverse with extreme care. Look at the rigging, the sails, the hulls, and see if there's any doubling where you can see a ghost image offset from the main image. Check the lettering that says Virginia and 1788 and 2000. Is there any doubling, tripling, or other multiplication of the letters and numbers? Examine the rim of the coin all the way around both sides. Do you see any raised lines indicating die cracks, or any large raised blobs indicating die breaks or cuts? Look at how the design sits on the planchet. Is it perfectly centered, or is it shifted to one side, leaving blank space on the opposite side? Check the diameter of the coin. Is it normal quarter size, or is it noticeably larger or smaller, which could indicate a broad strike or wrong planchet error? Examine the edge reading. Are those little grooves present and normal, or is the edge smooth or wrong somehow? And assess the overall condition. Is the coin shiny and uncirculated looking, or does it show wear from circulation? The better the condition, the more valuable it will be, especially if you've found an error example. Here's what I want you to understand about the 2000 P Virginia quarter and why it's reached such incredible values. This coin represents the beginning of something huge. It's the first in a series that captured America's imagination and got people excited about pocket change in a way that hadn't been seen since the 1960s, and being first gives it special status and special appeal. There's also the historical significance of the design itself. Jamestown was the foundation of English America, and those three ships carried the colonists who would establish a settlement that survived despite tremendous hardships, including starvation, disease, and conflict with Native Americans. And eventually that tiny settlement grew and expanded and became part of the Virginia colony, which played a crucial role in the American Revolution and the founding of our nation. So when you hold a Virginia quarter, you're holding a piece that commemorates the very roots of American history, and collectors respond emotionally to that connection. The error coins take that emotional appeal and multiply it by adding rarity and uniqueness. Suddenly, you're not just holding a quarter that commemorates Jamestown. You're holding a mistake, an anomaly, something that wasn't supposed to exist but does, and that makes it special in an entirely different way. Collectors will pay premium prices for that combination of historical significance, emotional appeal, and rarity. And when you get all of those factors plus perfect condition, values can reach the stratospheric levels we're discussing today. Think about this scenario. You go home tonight, you find that jar of quarters you've been meaning to take to the bank. You start sorting through them just to see what's there, and you come across a 2000 P Virginia quarter that looks a little odd. Maybe the ship seemed doubled, or there's a strange blob on the rim, or the design looks off-center, and you think, maybe this is something, so you do some research online, compare your coin to pictures of known errors, and you realize that you might actually have found something incredible. You take it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's eyes go wide when he examines it under magnification, and he tells you that you need to get this coin professionally graded immediately because it could be worth serious money. You submit it to PCGS, wait anxiously for weeks while they authenticate and grade it, and then the holder comes back with the grade MS 69 or MS 70 and the error designation, and suddenly you're holding something worth potentially millions of dollars. And your life is forever changed because you took the time to look carefully at your pocket change. This is not fantasy. This is how rare coin discoveries happen in the real world. And it could happen to you if you're diligent and educated about what to look for. The Virginia quarter also has particular appeal to collectors from Virginia and from the greater Tidewater region, where Jamestown is located. There's state pride involved, and collectors want the best examples of their state's coin, so demand from that constituency alone creates upward pressure on prices. Add in the demand from error collectors, from state quarter collectors trying to complete their sets, from investors looking for alternative assets, and from museums and institutions that want examples for educational displays, and you have multiple buyer constituencies all competing for a limited number of error coins, which is the perfect recipe for astronomical prices. Now, as we come to the end of this incredible journey through the most valuable state quarters ever minted, I want you to take away several key points. First, these valuable error coins exist, and they're real, with documented sales and auction results proving their worth. Second, these coins could still be in circulation or stored away in homes across America, which means you have a legitimate chance of finding one if you look carefully. Third, education is crucial. You need to know what to look for, which is why videos like this are so important. And I encourage you to study error coins, learn about the different types, and familiarize yourself with what normal coins should look like so you can spot abnormal ones. Fourth, condition matters enormously. An error coin in perfect, uncirculated condition is worth far more than the same error in worn condition. So if you find something promising, handle it carefully and protect it. Fifth, authentication and grading by professional services like PeaceGS or NGC is essential for determining value and marketability. So if you think you found something significant, invest in getting it properly certified. And finally, the world of rare coins is exciting, rewarding, and full of possibilities, and you never know when you might make a discovery that changes your life. The 2000 P Virginia quarter, along with the 2002 P Indiana quarter, the 2002 P Mississippi quarter, and the 2016 D Harper's Ferry quarter that we've discussed today, represent the pinnacle of modern state quarter collecting, with values reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars for the finest error examples. And these coins prove that you don't need to find ancient treasures or gold doubloons to strike it rich in numismatics. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight in your pocket change, waiting for someone with knowledge and attention to detail to recognize them for what they are. So tonight, I want you to go through every quarter you can find, examine them carefully, look for those mint marks, check for errors, and who knows, you might just discover that you've been carrying a fortune around without even knowing it. The possibility is real. The coins are out there. And with the information I've given you today, you now have the knowledge you need to potentially make a discovery that could change your life forever. Remember to check back here at the Coin Hunter for more incredible stories about rare and valuable coins. Because the world of numismatics is full of amazing surprises, and you never know what we'll uncover next. Until then, happy hunting, keep your eyes open, and may you find the treasure you're seeking hiding in your pocket change.